Hello friends, I am Dr. Ashish Jararia. I am Associate Professor at OBGYN GMC Nagpur. I, along with NOGS, under the dynamic leadership of Dr. Vaidehi Marathe, thought of bringing this video of PPH drill to you. We thought of using it as a ready reckoner in acute emergencies, and I hope it will be of benefit to you people in day-to-day practice. We all know that PPH takes place when it is most unexpected, and when we are waiting for PPH, it doesn't occur. In our institute, the first response to postpartum hemorrhage used to be oxygen inhalation, blood, of course. There used to be a knee-jerk reaction for blood in management of postpartum hemorrhage. But friends, let me tell you that it is because we used to diagnose PPH or used to make label patient as PPH very late, and that's why this knee-jerk reaction. We all know there is no fixed definition of postpartum hemorrhage, but WHO says that any blood loss which has ability or potential to make a woman hemodynamically unstable is postpartum hemorrhage. And this is very much applied to our country, because we had around 50 to 60% cases of anemia undergoing labor. In those patients, we should not wait for 500 ml blood loss in normal delivery and 1 liter blood loss in cesarean section to label them as PPH. Our response to PPH should start immediately as soon as the patient had more than expected blood loss, or when the visual estimation of blood loss is more, we must label her as PPH and our response should start. Incidence of postpartum hemorrhage is ranges from 2 to 10%. So if you had a delivery rate of 100 per month, then you are supposed to get 2 to 10 cases of postpartum hemorrhage on monthly basis. And if it is a yearly thing, then the number will be like, if you had 100 deliveries a year, then around 2 to 10 cases of postpartum hemorrhage may occur in your setups. Making a facility ready for this PPH, you have to take help of your colleagues. Like Dr. Vaidehi ma'am has started this rapid response team type of concept in zones and different zones of Nagpur. Something of that kind you can do at your local level. You can always make a team of anesthetist, your senior OBGYN colleague, and your RMOs, your nurses. People must rush whenever there is a hemorrhage, and you must get a timely help. So early recognition of excessive bleeding is very important in management of PPH. The second important point is facility readiness. The deaths which occurs due to postpartum hemorrhage, they many times comes to GMCH for scrutiny. And when we see the records, we found that many times this facility is not ready for tackling this postpartum hemorrhage. So this is PPH tray, and these are the components of postpartum hemorrhage tray. We must have one instrument tray also along with the PPH tray ready. There must be a balloon kept downstairs. You can see there is a NASG comment also. Uterine balloon, the Bakri balloon, or whatever the balloon you have along with condom, you must have in your tray. Yes, you must have all things together at a particular place. We call it as a PPH tray, we may call it as a PPH trolley. It must include all uterotonics, tranexamic acid, it must have a balloon, it must have an anti-shock garment in that.
हाँ
कैसा लग रहा है?
चक्कर लग रहा है और कमजोरी से आ रही है।
She had tachycardia. Why she has tachycardia? Oh, she's into pool of blood. This is postpartum hemorrhage. Bharat,
Bharat, call
please
for help.
call for help. So the first thing in postpartum hemorrhage is call for help, and unless you had people to help you, it's very difficult to manage this situation. You must organize your team, and there must be minimum 4 people a obstetrician who will never leave the patient alone. She or he has to be on the vaginal end. You can call your anesthetist friend to manage the head end. There must be an assistant all time with you because cervical exploration or some interventions needs assistant, and there must be one person who can be a supplier. He or she must work as an informer too, who can tell the relatives about the patient's situation, who can arrange blood, who can alert the laboratories for investigations. So minimum 4 people has to be there in the team, and for that you must do this PPS drills at your place sometimes, so that when actual emergency comes, then you are ready.
AMTSL किया था क्या स्मृति इसका?
Yes, sir. She is mine delivered 1 hour back and EM test.
Yes, sir.
Then the second thing is prevention. We all know that active management of third stage of labor helps reducing incidence of postpartum hemorrhage. So practicing AMTSL, training your RMOs and staff in AMTSL is very important. There are 3 components of AMTSL as we know. Injection oxytocin. It could be oxytocin 10 unit intramuscular. It could be methargine 0.2 mg intramuscular after delivery of placenta. Prostadine is not included in AMTSL management, but you can use tablet misoprostol 400 or 600 per rectally. The second part is controlled contraction. So this is an optional one as per the WHO guidelines. You may or may not do it. Controlled contraction is second. And the third is uterine massage. So we all know the correct way of uterine massage. It is usually a fundal thing. It is usually an abdominal thing. So uterine massage should not be confused with bimanual uterine compression. A gentle massage over the umbilicus in a clockwise direction, in a circular motion, trying to press the uterus down so that the blood clots comes out, is the actual way of doing uterine massage. So 3 components of NTSL, oxytocin, whatever available, whatever preferred by you, along with controlled contraction, which is an optional one, and the third is uterine massage.
Sister, please give ringer lactate. Please start one more drip. I will need 2 large bore IV cannulas, and from one side 20 unit oxytocin will go, and other side ringer lactate will go.
IV injection pitocin 20 unit in drip.
Communication in management of postpartum hemorrhage is something which is really very important. We practice closed loop communication. We experience in our in our practice that you order something like oxytocin to be put in drip, and then after some time we come to know that people are so panicked that they fail to put oxytocin. So closed loop communication, in that we whatever we say is repeated by the provider. So if we say please put 20 unit oxytocin in the drip, so after putting the oxytocin in the drip, she will respond back in the same manner that oxytocin 20 unit in the drip has been put. So this closed loop communication helps in acute emergencies.
How much? What are the vitals, Bharat?
Sir, the blood pressure is 100/70, pulse is 100.
Shock
And
index is 1. Okay, so we have to be careful for this patient. Sister, please give tranexamic acid 1 gram. Shruti, please do massage. Please do massage the uterus.
1 gram IV given. So uterus is still flabby.
Sister, please give injection methargine 0.4 mg IV.
So I have taken the consent of the relative and 1 point blood transfusion of BT has been issued.
Okay.
Injection methoxin 0.4.
Please issue 50 also. Please
Okay,
keep it standby, and then we will issue it as soon as it is required.
Okay, sir.
So, Tranexa has been given, pitocin has been given, methargine has been given, uterus is okay.
Still flabby, sir. The tone is this.
Oh, the bleeding is still there. Please give injection prostadine, sister, intramuscular.
Injection prostadine I am given.
Then we have to look after, suppose a patient is bleeding, then there are certain things which we have to do together. So there is a very good approach called a bundle approach, where all the things are done in bundle, and it is giving really good results. So there are 4 components in first response bundle. One is IV fluid, second is oxytocin, third is tranexamic acid, and fourth is bimanual uterine compression. About IV fluids, too much of IV fluids, too less of IV fluids, both can be detrimental in PPH. So please remember, unless the blood comes, we have to give IV fluids. We can give 1 liter, 1.5 liters until the blood comes. But once the blood arrives, once the patient has bled more than 1000 ml or 1500 ml, we have to give blood and blood products. So if we are giving IV fluids after this loss, 1.5 liter loss, we are giving IV fluid, then it can produce dilution coagulopathy, and it may further increase the chances of blood loss. So please remember, IV fluids has to be used judiciously, and once the one after a particular time, there is no much use of IV fluid should be there. We must use all available uterotonic options. We should not wait for one action of one oxytocin to come. So before using the second, so we can use all available options. In our practice, we usually give 20 unit oxytocin, and we may increase the concentration up to 40 units. It has to be given in drip slow IV infusion. The drop rate must not go beyond 40 drops per minute. And we use injection methargine 0.4 mg IV, and we repeat it 0.2 mg after half an hour if needed. We use injection prostadine 250 microgram intramuscular. We may give 6 to 8 doses if not required at a gap of 30 minutes. We may use a tablet misoprostol if available, 800 microgram per rectally. And please remember, 10 unit oxytocin intramuscular is not the dose for management of PPH. It is the preventive dose. So when we use oxytocin, please remember it has to be used judiciously and with the right dose. And we can use all available options. We must not wait for the action of one oxytocin to come before using the second. And of course, we must look after the contraindications. If it is contraindicated, like methargine is contraindicated in severe preeclampsia, heart disease, so we must avoid it. We can use prostadine, we can use misoprostol. So use of oxytocin judiciously is very important. About tranexamic acid, 1 gram tranexamic acid diluted slowly over 10 minutes in 10 cc of normal saline is the recommended dose. We may repeat it a second dose of 500 milligram tranexamic within 2 hours. The last component of first response bundle, other than IV fluids, uterotonics and tranexamic acid, is uterine massage. So the uterine massage, we traditionally do it by abdominal method. Please do not get confused uterine massage with bimanual uterine completion. So uterine massage is a very simple thing, can be done by even a layman or your nursing staff. It is in a circumferential manner over the fundus we have to do, and we have to just give a slight downward pressure so that if there are blood clots, it comes out. So this is abdominal way of doing, this is actual way of doing uterine massage.
Okay, let's check for the cervical tear. Please give me some exploration tray, a Foley's catheter and Eurobac. She doesn't have any cervical tear as such. Shruti, please do catheterization. Let me empty the uterus. Uterus is full of clots.
Supportive measures are very important in management of postpartum hemorrhage. Many times we forget to put catheter, and we all know that a full bladder sometimes can be postpartum hemorrhage. So emptying the bladder, looking for vaginal tears, cervical tears are equally important. And simultaneously we have to do uterine massage by bimanual method. So we all know traditionally we have been taught to put a fist. If fist is not possible to put, we can just put your palm, and over the knuckles you just allow the uterus to rest, and you put another hand over the posterior aspect of uterus, and you try to sandwich the uterus between your fist, a partial fist or a complete fist, and your other arm. So this is a bimanual uterine massage, and this is a part of supportive measures. Supportive measures should be continued while implementing first bundle as well as the second bundle. I will go to the second bundle later on. Emptying the uterus is a very important supportive measure which we must not forget, because many times a part of placenta is left inside the uterus, or uterus is filled with blood clot. So we have to empty the uterus by putting your hand inside the uterus and removing all clots or the retained bits.
It is getting harder, but it is still relaxing in between. Well, let's put a UBT. Sister, please give me a UBT. Smruti, please help me in putting in UBT. So the now UBT is in place. The massage has been given. The uterus has been emptied. What are the vitals, Bharat?
Sir, the blood pressure is 100/70 and the pulse is 100.
Okay. So the patient is okay. Let's give some blood and FAP. Please give blood and FAP. Please start.
Sir,
This
to-
fluid has been over now, so we can start blood and FAP from here. No need to give further IV fluids. We'll give her blood and FAP.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the pulse and blood pressure, Bharat?
Sir, the blood pressure is 90/60 and the pulse is 110. The soft index is deteriorating, sir.
I think we will put an NASG to her.
So, second bundle is a set of intervention which we do when there is a refractory postpartum hemorrhage. In most of the cases, the PPH responds to the first bundle, and but then a good number of patients may not respond. You may have to switch over to refractory PPH management. So this is second bundle, and when to start second bundle. So when you see that the patient is sinking, her shock index is getting worse, tachycardia is there, she's having loss of, she's having fall in blood pressure, too much blood she's losing, CNS status is getting, she's undergoing delirium, some CNS manifestations are there of hypotension and shock. So all these conditions you have to start with the second bundle. And many times you may diagnose postpartum hemorrhage when the patient is already bled a lot and she is going into the reversible stage of shock. So you can directly switch over to the second bundle, and simultaneously you can do both the bundles together. So the components of second bundle are the compression manuals, mostly the aortic compression or the bimanual uterine compression. And the second part is putting a balloon, uterine balloon tamponade, and the third is putting an anti-shock garment. About aortic compression, there are very good videos available online which you can refer to. You have to make a fist and you try to compress the aorta against the vertebrae. This is a temporary measure to stop bleeding, specially used while transferring the patient from labor room to OT in cases of shock due to PPH. Bimanual uterine compression, I have already demonstrated you to the technique of bimanual uterine compression. About uterine balloon, there are now very good Vayu uterine balloon available in India. These are low cost balloon, and there are condom balloons. They are low pressure, low cost balloons, and you can always use Bakri balloon if it is available with you. There are various other measures like putting a suction cannula inside the uterine cavity, or occluding the descending uterine artery by a clamp. So any of these methods can also be used. But then uterine balloon, it is really a boon in management of PPH because it can be used in low resource settings, can be used by ANMs, can be used by medical officers after small training. So this really works. We have used it extensively in GMCH and many other centers under the leadership of Thomas Burke, a famous Harvard scientist working on PPH. And balloon has really helped us in saving the mothers. About anti-shock garment, this is a new thing which has come in management of postpartum hemorrhage, and it is very, very effective if used judiciously. So as soon as you think that the patient is going into shock, the early evidence of shock, you have to put this garment around the patient. In this video we have demonstrated you how to use it, and you can put this anti-shock garment and can go ahead with the surgeries vaginal or even by abdominal route if needed. So that is the advantage of this anti-shock garment, and you can continue putting it unless the patient settles post surgery also. Then blood transfusion and transportation to higher center is also very important component in management of postpartum hemorrhage. Many times in small setups, all these things cannot be done. So you must recognize your referring center. You must be in touch with your referring centers. The center must be ready, and then transportation vehicle has to be there ready once you take a decision of transporting the patient. There are national guidelines in India about transferring a serious patient from one place to other, and we have to stick to those guidelines.
Staff, please give NASG. Okay, so first we have to make sure that the NASG is at fine level. Please turn the patient. Now, Bharat, you can put with the fourth and fifth.
Yes, sir.
This has to be put by one person. Right. Perfect. Yes. Yeah. Right. So NASG is in place. The balloon is in place. All uterotonics has been given. How you feel now? कैसा लग रहा है? ठीक है. So the uterus is also hard. How are the vitals, Bharat?
Sir, the blood pressure is now 110 by 70.
Okay.
And the pulse is 90.
Okay. So the patient is really improving. She is responding to both the bundles. Now just have a close observation of this patient, and we will see what is to be done next.
Sir, sister checklist. IV fluids,
Given,
uterotonics,
given,
tranexamic acid,
given,
uterine massage,
given,
lacerations,
We have checked for lacerations. There are no laceration found.
bladder emptied,
Yes, we have emptied the bladder.
uterus empty,
Yes.
compression,
given,
Bimanual uterine compression we have given.
uterine balloon,
Yes, it is in place.
anti-shock garment,
We have put,
blood transfusion.
yes, so we have given adequate blood and FFPs in 1:1 ratio.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is the complete management of postpartum hemorrhage.
Now, the last thing about postpartum hemorrhage is that only clinical management is not going to save your mother. So, other than clinical management, you have to think of vertical integration or network integration, especially in rural settings. We also have to work on our teamwork and communication inside as well as outside your hospital. We have to take care about quality assurance and compliance, and most importantly, we have to work on facility readiness too. So these are the best practices for management of postpartum hemorrhages. I hope this video will help you as a ready reckoner in managing your case of PPH. Thank you.